Welcome to our celebration of 75 years of innovation. In 1947, Dorian discovered the Red X principle. It changed his life. He focused the rest of his career on developing a system for solving tough technical problems, and his discovery has changed the lives of thousands of engineers around the globe. The insight didn't just come to him one day. It was an inflection point in a journey that started 8 years earlier. Dorian had been reassigned from product design to problem solving to support the war effort. He would visit plants making propeller systems, and the engineers would tell him about their problems and share their list of possible causes. Dorian would ignore their list and go out to the production floor to see what was happening firsthand. It was a precursor of Toyota's Go to Gemba, go and see for yourself. Dorian was able to see things that others hadn't noticed and became convinced of the importance of talking to the parts. A few years later, he befriended Dr. Joseph Duran and learned about the Pareto principle. At the same time, he was learning statistics and had developed his first statistical technique. So by the time it all came together in 1947, Dorian was an aeronautical engineer with an interest in statistics who was skilled in solving technical problems. His discovery was that the Pareto principle must apply to the sources of variation within a system, meaning there was always a dominant source of variation. He called his discovery the Red X. Red signified danger, so you needed to find and control the Red X to solve tough technical problems. Dorian's insight has revolutionized problem solving. Rather than make lists of potential causes, a skilled Red X problem solver is able to drill down to the source to determine what is causing the problem rather than what might be causing the problem. We are pleased to be joined today by 3 executives from some of our problem-solving partners. Mike Mansuetti from Robert Bosch, Stephanie Pennell from Whirlpool, and Sujatha Narayan from Wabtec. We have asked each to share their personal and company experience in applying Shainin technology. Dorian's focus was on technical problem solving and prevention. He was a giant in the fields of product quality and reliability. In response to our customers, we have expanded our technology to address other needs. Today, we help companies transform the way they approach problem solving so they can solve any problem faster and more efficiently. We've asked Craig Hysong, our CEO, to share the evolution of Shainin services to meet those needs. Finally, we want to have a little fun today. We have organized a trivia contest using Kahoot with prizes for the top responders. We have been honored to work with some of our customers over a very long period of time. Robert Bosch is one of those partners in problem solving. I first worked with Bosch in the mid-90s in Charleston, South Carolina. Craig started working with Mike Mansuetti in 2004 in Anderson, South Carolina. Our partnership has grown stronger over the years as we've evolved to support Bosch's needs. With no further introduction, I'd like to turn the floor over to Mike.
Thank you, Dick. Hello, everyone. Wow, 75 years of Shainin. Congratulations to you, Dick, and to Craig. What an outstanding journey it has been. So hello, everyone. Again, I'm Mike Mansuetti. I'm the president of Bosch in North America, and I'm really just a manufacturing guy. So I started out on the shop floor in Charleston in South Carolina back in 1988. And as Dick mentioned, we first started working with Craig in 2004 when I was the plant manager in our Anderson, South Carolina facility. And like any plant, we had worked with a lot of problem-solving tools, but we were looking for a really more data-driven, scientific-based approach. So we started working with Shainin, and soon we were solving problems that had seemingly been around forever. Quickly, we saw that our associates had a real aptitude for Shainin, and as we were in the manufacturing business, it just really clicked with us. It just really made sense with our people. So we started to develop more people and solve more problems. And after we had really a taste of Red X, we really wanted more. So together with Craig, we implemented Rolling Top 5, and we also introduced Green Y to bring really our Shainin approach to an enterprise level at the plant. The Rolling Top 5 initiative, I can tell you, was a game changer for us. The interest level really increased, and so did our results. And soon we were certifying all our manufacturing directors as Rolling Top 5 executives. They were able to use data to identify the top problems and assign resources to solve those problems. Areas like zero mileage and warranty claims saw a tremendous improvement. And we went from scrapping a Cadillac a day, yes, I'm ashamed to say that, to a scrap rate of less than 1% very quickly. We also saw significant improvement in our overall customer satisfaction. Our escalation meetings decreased significantly, and these conversations went from an emotionally driven to a data-driven discussion. So here we are 18 years later. We now have 1,506 apprentices, 482 journeymen, 72 masters, and 80 Rolling Top 5 leaders. So as I said, Shainin has been a game changer for us and our organization. So starting out in Anderson, now it has spread through all of North America, and happy to say even globally with these initiatives and also our certifications. So I credit Craig's expertise, his vision, and his partnership, a true partnership, really, I mean that, for driving the change and enable the great impact that we have seen. So thank you, Craig, and thank you, Dick, and congratulations on 75 years of Shainin. I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. As we've grown and matured, we have learned that we don't have the answer for everything. And so we recognize that for our customers to be successful, they have to see how Shainin and Red X tools fit within their broader systems. Stephanie Pennell first became introduced to Shainin in the automotive industry when she was working for Delphi. She has moved to Whirlpool, where she is a global leader in problem solving. And we've asked Stephanie to share with us her experiences of integrating Shainin within Whirlpool's greater continuous improvement system. So I'll turn it over to Stephanie.
Thank you, Dick, very much for that introduction. And Mike, congratulations on such a phenomenal trajectory of growth with Shainin and Bosch. You might have squeezed in 3 more masters to coincide 75 masters with 75 years of celebration. Congratulations to Bosch. And I'm very pleased to be part of this panel. At Whirlpool, we have a vision to be the, hold on. So at Whirlpool, as I was saying, we have the vision to be the very best kitchen and laundry company in constant pursuit of improving life at home. And that vision is all the more impactful when you consider the breadth of the products that we design and manufacture in North America. The consumer's experience revolves not only around the experience that they have with the appliance and with the brand, but also it's related to the expectation that our founders set 111 years ago today to provide a high quality and reliable product. And as I prepared for this presentation, I was impressed with the similarities actually between Shainin and Whirlpool. Both companies originate from the undeniable ingenuity of their founders and their innate ability to solve problems. When the gears of every washer wore out with daily use of those first machines produced, Lou Upton went down the problem-solving path, and he replaced the cast iron gears with steel gears. And he was able to demonstrate to the consumer that he turned the issue off. He solved the problem, and he grew their trust. And the Upton Machine Company was born on November 11th, 1911. So with Upton's scenario in mind, I reflect on a quote but from Simon Sinek, American author and motivational speaker. Leaps of greatness require the combined problem-solving ability of people who trust each other. And at Whirlpool, the continuous improvement drives the trust within our organization and then ultimately with our consumers as well. Our operating system leverages world-class manufacturing, also known as WCM. And one of the steps in world-class manufacturing is the 7 steps of problem solving that we incorporate on a daily basis to attack losses throughout our manufacturing operations. And driving to true root cause, we employ tools such as 5 Whys, DOEs, paired comparison, and component search. It all depends on the complexity of the problem. And we see a very nice leadership through Shainin in understanding that there are a variety of tools out there, and choosing the right tool at the right time for the right purpose is really the way to go. So that partnership has been instrumental in how we've been able to incorporate the Shainin problem-solving technique along with our own operating system and even OpEx. And world-class manufacturing, as I mentioned previously, is focused on loss reduction. And what we see here in terms of the ability to be able to attack more complex problems is very critical in our organization, because world-class manufacturing takes you from being a reactive organization to being a preventive organization, and then ultimately a proactive organization. It's a very long journey, can take up to 10 years to actually achieve that proactive level of organization. But I'm grateful that we are able to incorporate the Shainin tools for some of these much more complex and hard to attack issues. As Mike mentioned, that was also the journey that they realized where they brought the value at Bosch as well. And attacking those tougher issues is where we're really at with respect to making certain we're providing the highest quality and highest reliable product to our consumer. So while our problem solving has evolved at Whirlpool, we also remind ourselves on a daily basis of the tone that our founders set for us so many years ago. We don't shy away from issues. We address the root cause and we correct them. I continue to be inspired by our teams. We take a lot of pride in keeping the consumer at the center of everything that we do. And it's actually for us a never-ending journey of inspiration. And quoting Simon Sinek yet once again, the more people you inspire, the more people will inspire you. And I like to think that the continued opportunities for inspiration actually come through problem solving, and they're actually another tool away. So thank you very much for all the support that your entire team has provided us as we're launching our very new journey with our Shainin problem solving tools. But I can tell you the reception has been phenomenal at Whirlpool. I talked to our engineers and they're so excited about the tools and being able to get to root cause faster. And the coaching has been phenomenal. So thank you very much for all of the support with your entire team, Dick.
Thank you.
All right, who's ready for some trivia? Okay, earlier today, or yesterday, you got an email that talked about how to link to Kahoot. You don't need to do that exactly. You can get away without it. But what I need you to do now is either open, let me go ahead and share my screen, and you can open your Kahoots app on your cell phone or iPad or tablet or what have you. Or if you do not, if you have not downloaded the Cahoots app, you can use your phone or camera to scan this QR code, and that will take you directly to the game in Cahoots. If you're using the Cahoots app, when you first open it, it will say log in or sign up. All you need to do is X out of that. And then at the bottom of the screen, you can join, and then it will ask for this game pin right here, this 5805622. So you don't have to, or you can't really use your computer, just another method, your cell phone, an iPad, a tablet, what have you. So I'm seeing people join. Again, if you're using the Cahoots app, then you would just start up, and when you open it, you can X out of login, sign up, and click at the bottom of the screen. It will say join. And then you will enter this game pin right here. So looks like people are pinging up. I'll give it just a second for some more folks to get in there. And I'll explain how it works here in just a second once we get started. We've got 17 questions. We will have some prizes for the winners. Yes, it'll ask for a code name or a game name. Everyone will be able to see that, but no one will be able to see your email. It asks for an email as well. So again, scan this QR code here on the screen, or you can open Cahoots, and at the bottom it says join, and enter this game pin. It'll ask for an email and a nickname. Everyone can see the nickname. No one can see your email. And hopefully everyone can hear the groovy music playing. All right, still have people joining in. I'll give it just another minute or so. And again, you do not have to have the Cahoots app. You can just scan that QR code. It will take you directly to where you need to go. Enter an email, a player name, and click submit. All right, looks like we have 55 players and no one has added here in the last few seconds. There's another one.
Hey, Brad, can you expand your screen so we don't see the panel on the side there?
Your wish is my command.
Thank you, sir.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you're in the Cahoots app, all you need is that pin. And once I hit start, that, of course, that pin number is going to disappear, which will make it very difficult. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Let me hit. All right, here we go. All right, all right, all right. The 75th anniversary Shainin quiz. All right, so I am your Shainin Trivia host, Mr. E. Welcome to Shainin Trivia. All right, how to play. There's going to be 4 different formats. You'll have something that shows quiz. That'll be multiple choice. You just click on the right answer. There'll be true, false. You click on true or false. And then there's this slider where you'll move the slider around to whatever. Most of these are going to be year questions. What year did this happen? You'll move the slider, click submit. Or there'll be a puzzle or a shuffle, and you will have to then move these around in the order per the question and hit submit. So we got multiple choice, true, false, slider, and then the puzzle, which is put in order. So again, answer fast and correctly, you get more points. Answer fast and incorrectly, you don't get any points. So you be the judge on how risky you want to be. So here we go. This is a practice question. What year did you first hear about Shainin? So you'll type in the year and hit enter. And you'll see the countdown over here. So there's no points for this. This is just kind of, we'll see what it looks like. Every question will have this countdown, and when it counts down to 0, no more. All right, so there is all the years where people, and the bigger the square, the more there were. So that's all the different years people have seen Shainin. Okay, that was no points, but this next one will in fact count for points. So here we go. True or false? Red X problem solving works only in high volume manufacturing. Look at those speed demons. All right. And survey says false. Again, the key word only in high volume. It can be used in anything. All right, another true false. Energy is a more insightful measure than peak force. All right, the answer is true. Energy is more insightful. All right, here we go. Next question. This is a multiple choice. These are the steps in the Shainin investigative cycle. All right, and there is kind of a Pareto. Hopefully we really don't have Paretos in this. But one was I liked more than anything else was blame that supplier. That's very common out in the field. If you don't know Shainin, blame that supplier. All right, here we go. Next question. This is a puzzle. This is moving around. Drag and drop the following tools in order of use. In order of use. All right, and there is the correct answer for usage. 4P, strategy, diagram, solution tree, and confirmation test. All right, here we go. And this is a multiple choice. This is where Dorian and John Pollard sketched out the concept for isoplot. All right, that's correct. On the back of a cocktail napkin while sitting out by the hotel pool, which we all know when the Shainin guys go out, we don't get to sit out by the pool. We do, we're doing a lot of work. So here we go. Good answers. Next question. All right, this is a slider. How many statistical tools did Dorian develop? Slide and hit submit. And time's up for that one. All right, how many tools was it? It was 20 tools. Hopefully everybody got that right. If you were in this little blue area, you got some points. If you were right on the money, you got more points. So there's the distribution of the answers. All right, next question. True or false? Function models are used in Red X, transactional, and resilient engineering. And survey says true. They are used in all 3 of those methods. One more or several more. This is a quiz, multiple choice. What decade did we see the development of transactional problem solving? Pick the decade. Fast and Furious. All right, so we got a good Pareto there. It was, in fact, the 2000s. So we got 18 correct answers. Next question. This is multiple choice. Dorian's first statistical invention. All right, lot plot. In case you were wondering, the Etch-a-Sketch was developed in 1959. The lot plot was 1942-ish, somewhere in that ballpark. Next question. All right, the following questions are we're going to be talking about when these techniques were developed. I've picked out about 3 out of this little chart here. So the next few will be all sliders. You slide and then hit submit on when the tool was developed. So here we go. It's a slider. Pre-control, the same year Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. What year was it? All right, and that year was, it was in fact 1954. And you can see the distribution of guesses there. But 1954 was the year that we developed pre-control and Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. Next one, another slider, developed while working with an MIT classmate 20 years after graduation. "20 years after graduating MIT. And that one was not 1994, but 1956. If you remember, Dorian graduated MIT in 1936. You add 20, most of the time you come up with 1956. Here we go. Next question. Another slider. Barrier B versus C, developed by Pete and Dorian with Foundries, the last tool Dorian developed. Name that year. All right, and that year was 1988. Again, that was the last tool Dorian developed. All right, next question. All right, Dorian originally used 2 overhead projectors and airline swizzle sticks as pointers. He would have the main concept on one projector and then go through multiple slides on the other projector. And when he really wanted to highlight something, he would use a swizzle stick that he collected from the airlines and place on the projector, which showed a nice shadow. And the next 3 questions are about those swizzle sticks. So here we go. All right, it's a quiz. Which destination are you flying to if you get this swizzle stick? Survey says Denver. All right, here's another one about swizzle sticks. All right, multiple choice. What destination you're flying to with this swizzle stick? All right, got lots of good answers there. New Orleans is the correct answer. And one more swizzle stick. That's another multiple choice. This is double points. Find the swizzle stick for Hawaii. Answers are coming fast and furious. Survey says Hawaii right here. The little pineapple represents Hawaii. All right, that was the last of the swizzle stick problems. So here we go. Factual was a leap forward in red X problem solving, introduced in a leap year, which was also the same year The Red Sox won their first World Series in 86 years, a curse of the Bambino. So what I want you to do is, what year was Factual introduced? It's a slider. The year Factual was introduced. All right, and that year was not 1957, but 2004. And the reason we had the hint on the Red Sox was Dick is a huge fan, so we had to throw that one in there. All right, this is the final Shainin Trivia final question. Here we go. It is in fact a slide or multiple or invention. Put these in order of development. Drag and drop in the order of development. And survey says solution tree, project definition tree, strategy diagram, and corrective action tree. I think I know who got the correct answer there. All right, and that is it. Here's the podium in third place with 11 out of 17. In second place, Brian A. And winner, chicken dinner. First place goes to Jason A. All right, congratulations to Jason A. Runners up, Rich F. and Angry Bree. All right, so first, second, and third place for non-Shainin employees will get a prize. And then the first place for the Shainin employee that gets first place gets a prize. We'll see those emails, and those will be, you'll be contacted at a later date to how you get your prize. So that concludes the Shainin quiz. And I will stop sharing and turn it back over. If I can find the stop sharing button. There we go. And turning it back over to Jen or Dick. There we go. Thank you guys for playing. And good afternoon.
Thank you, Brad. And thanks everybody for participating. It was fun to sit here and watch as the answers came in. I was not allowed to play since I came up with most of the questions. So I joined Shainin in 1991. And when I joined the company, it consisted of Dorian, Pete, and myself, and John Pollard as a contract employee. And over time, we've obviously grown the company, and we've also grown our presence. And we've become global, not because we necessarily aspire to be a global company, but because we serve customers who have global needs. And one of the important areas where we are now supporting our customers is in India. And Dr. Sujatha Narayan has offered to talk about her experiences in working with our team in India. And so, Sujatha, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. And can you hear me and see me?
Yep.
Okay.
Great.
That's a tough act to follow, and I'm not sure I can be as interesting as a trivia quiz, but I will try because I have long and fond memories of Shainin. Good morning, good evening to everybody who's joined the call, the Shainin employees as well as the Shainin groupies. Congratulations to the company, the entire organization for your 75th anniversary. That's fantastic. And thank you for inviting me to talk. It is really a pleasure to be addressing all of you, talking about my personal journey with Shainin, but also Wabtec's recent journey with Shainin. And after hearing from Mike and Stephanie, we're certainly a new kid on the block with Shainin at Wabtec Corporation. Very quick, a couple of minute introduction into Wabtec for those of you who don't know. Wabtec is a 150-year-old company founded by George Westinghouse. I think most of you know the name. In this 150 years, Wabtec has grown with merging with a number of companies. The two largest and most recent ones that are very relevant to the company. One was Faiveley Transport out of France, and the second was GE Transportation, most recently in February 2019. Essentially, Wabtec is a railway company. We build diesel locomotives, have the largest fleet in the world in terms of diesel locomotives, as well as a number of large assemblies that go into passenger coaches and metro coaches, as well as cargo wagons. Now, the company has more than 27,000 employees operating from more than 50 countries. And while we're a railway player, but also we serve with our products and solution to mining and industrial applications as well. Now, a quick blurb about Wabtec in India, because I am the India region leader. I'm a senior vice president with the company and the India region leader. In India, we're about $500 million in revenue. We actually build almost everything that Wabtec builds in India. We build diesel locomotives for the Indian rail network. We also build a lot of the subsystems like brake systems, pantographs, couplers, air conditioners, passenger access doors, etc. And we build all of this in India. We've got more than 3,000 employees. We're very proud of the fact that we host Wabtec's largest engineering center in India with more than 1,500 engineers working on development as well as testing and validation for the entire world. So we're very proud of our engineering prowess at India and our manufacturing capability. We've got more than 5 factories, 3 million square feet of manufacturing, and more than 70% localized in this entire revenue of close to $500 million that we have in India. So that's a quick introduction. With that, I'll move on to my personal journey, and I kind of divide it into 3 parts. I call it the early years, the middle years, and the present. I'll start with the early years, which is really not related to Wabtec, but my own personal journey. This was early 2000s when I worked for a company called Rogers Corporation in the US, first in Connecticut and then in Arizona. And Rogers is a specialty polymer materials company. They had adopted REDX as a problem-solving tool across their operations of the company for a while. Now, when I got there and I learned about the Shainin REDX technology, I was just amazed with the intellectual satisfaction I got from just using it, whether it's the simple concept of a dictionary split, talking to the parts, Y to X thinking, all of it was just so interesting and so structured and so logical that I really latched onto it and spent quite a bit of my time. I have a really interesting example to share here. Way back in December 2003, that's when many of you, especially for those of you from the US, will remember that the thinnest phone of the world was introduced. This was the Motorola Razr. I'm sure most of you have owned a Motorola Razr sometime in your life. The Motorola Razr had a keypad. This was before the touch phone became popular. And the decision to whether the keypad could be lit or not depended on whether an extremely thin electroluminescent light lamp could be developed. This is where Rogers came in and developed, we moved from a thick film Indian tin oxide system to a in-house silver printed thin film electrode for the electroluminescent lamp. As we were developing this for the Razr phone, we actually ran into some problems of blackening. And it was quite a struggle for us. We were under a lot of pressure because of timing and the opportunity that we didn't want to lose. And Shainin really came to our rescue. We used the Shainin methodology, identified the REDX to be silver migration, which is a known phenomena. And we went on to find the green Y, solve the problem, and not only delight the customer, but really increase the business by multifold. It was a fabulous example of using of Shainin in a true business environment and having the impact that we did. In 2007, I moved back to India and worked for a company called 3M, which I think most of you know about. 3M is fundamentally a Six Sigma company, and so really adopted most of Six Sigma methodologies for problem solving on an everyday basis. So this was a period of about 9 years where I actually did not use Shainin, and I was working in India at that time, so nobody knew about it. In 2017 is when I joined Faiveley Transport as the managing director. Faiveley Transport is part of the Wabtec Corporation in terms of their passenger business. And when I joined the company, found that we were grappling with a number of issues in the field, products that are used in the field that were repetitive. These had been looked at multiple times in the past. Various brainstorming sessions had been conducted, solutions had been put in place, and these problems kept coming back. It was one of those meetings. I was terribly frustrated with my team because there was a strong customer escalation. When a light bulb went off, and after 9 years, I remembered Shainin. So one of my colleagues who was taking care of reliability, and he's on this call today, Ganesh, I asked him to find out if Shainin was present in India. And lo and behold, we got lucky. We met Amarnath Chakraborty, who's responsible for India operations for Shainin. And it has been an outstanding partnership since then. Amar, Ganesh, and I have partnered at Faiveley and Wabtec to bring in the Shainin methodology. When we started, and this was way back in 2018, we really took a two-pronged approach. The first prong was really all about learning and unlearning, right? These were engineers who were so used to conference room brainstorming, fishbone diagrams, various tools that works sometimes. But when you get into particularly complex issues where you're talking about the interaction of your product with your customer's product or your customer's application, many of them fell short. And there was a lot of teaching we had to do on the methodology, and we got fantastic support from Amar and his team on that. The second prong was actually to do a lighthouse project, and this has really served us well. We had been grappling with leakage of refrigerant from our air conditioner hoses for a long time, and a lot of different solutions had been tried to solve this. Amar partnered with our team. They did a really nice job of the Shainin project and figured out that it was corrosion. And it didn't stop at just finding the red X. We moved on to the green Y, found the solution, applied the solution for the next project that came up, and we have not had a problem since then. So that was a fantastic experience. And the positivity that came from the success of that, along with a lot of the learning and unlearning that had happened, we actually went into the training mode for the REDX journey. We had about 15 of our engineers trained in 2021 and 15 in 2022. And we have done a number of projects as a part of these, and some of them have been really critical projects. And they interestingly span very, very different kinds of projects. We've had projects where we have found that the supplier quality has gone out of whack. We've solved software errors that have come on a random basis. We have really looked at both malfunctions and destructive kind of problems, and it's been a really successful journey. So successful that usually you have best practices going from corporate to a subsidiary. This time around, our evangelization and the obvious success that we were having, today we've got about 30 of our engineers in Europe and US who are going through the REDX journey, the training, as well as a number of projects that they have picked up. So this is, it feels good to be giving back to the company as we've taken so much technology from Europe, from US, etc. So I'd like to finish off by saying, I wanted to make the point that we are, while we are new kids on the block, we are actually moving forward in this journey and just beginning to adopt resilient engineering. The intent is to go from problem solving to problem prevention. And I really like the way Shainin pitches it. The traditional technique of an FMEA, looking for every single thing that can go wrong as you design a product. Instead of that, you turn it around and you say, hey, what are the 5 or 10 things that absolutely must go right? And you design your product for that. And so we have just started the journey. We've picked a complex product, which is going to explode in growth in the coming months and years. We just can't afford to go wrong. The customer will see train stoppages if that happens. And so we are adopting resilient engineering for that. And I really believe we're taking the bull by its horns and, getting in front of potential problems that can come up in the future. So, just to finish off, why do I sound so passionate about Shainin Red X? Why do I love it so much? I do think there are so many different ways you can solve problems. And I really think there are a number of other ways that might work as well. I am impressed with Shainin just sheerly from the fact that it's an outside-in thinking. Very often, we were facing multiple problems where the customer would say, your system is not working. We would bring it in, we would test it, and it would say no fault found. We'd go back to the customer, and this really irritated the customer because they had experienced the problems, and we are saying, hey, there's no fault with our system. So when you go from Y to X thinking, when you talk to the parts, you understand the application in which your products are used, you really actually get to a different level in terms of your ability to solve a problem. And very simply put, I just find it to be an intellectual high when I'm listening to a presentation when the Shainin Red X methodology has been used. It's been an amazing experience working with Shainin. I want to thank Amar and everybody else who have, Konstantin and others, and everybody else who has supported us. Thank you so much for your support. We look forward to the journey in the future. And thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all today. Thank you.
Sujatha, thank you very much. And I often tell people that there's no better feeling than the emotional high you get when you solved a problem that nobody else has been able to get to. So a number of us can share that feeling. Thank you. In August, we lost a valued member of the Red X family, Harry Flotemersch. As we often do when we lose someone close to us, I spent time reflecting on our times together, and I reread emails that Harry and I had shared in the recent past. His emails reflected his pride in the achievements of his sons and his passion for improvement. He was working constantly to improve his coaching skills, his leadership skills, and his fitness. He saw opportunities to improve our technology, both as a Shainin employee and later as an alumnus. Harry was proactive and creative. When he found that candidates he was coaching weren't recognizing the converging cycles necessary to drill down to the Red X, he developed investigative cycles. When he found that teams were inconsistent in developing strong focused project statements, he developed the 4P template. When he saw the need for more structure in developing innovative solutions, once the Red X had been found and verified, he developed corrective action trees. Harry loved a challenge. He was a recipient of a 2021 Dorian Award for his solution to a challenging reliability problem. He worked the project jointly with Dana as they were TE Connectivity's customer. He had one failed sample to work with and later commented to me about how much he enjoyed the challenge because it required creativity and perseverance. The project demonstrated his commitment to customers. To get his hand on a failed sample, he met a Dana engineer outside a vehicle assembly plant during the COVID pandemic. Harry was inquisitive. He studied situations to try to gain insights. Several of his emails discussed his dismay that leaders would ignore the successes from Red X programs and prefer to encourage wasteful activity on the next problem. I had an opportunity to collaborate with Harry when I was upgrading the Red X Masterclass. I wanted to improve the section on coaching skills. Within a few hours, we had developed a function model for the role of a Red X Master, which remains a key element of our class. I recently saw a quote, "Don't raise your voice, improve your argument." The quote's from Desmond Tutu. And it reminded me of Harry. He had the ability to disagree without being disagreeable, which I think is a fine trait. The world has lost a brilliant detective and an empathetic coach, the Red X community has lost a valued colleague and a friend. Harry, we miss you. In the late fall of 1991, Dorian received a panic phone call from an executive at General Motors telling him that they had a crisis at a plant in Rochester, New York, and they didn't have time for training people. They needed somebody on site until they found the Red X. Dorian called my older brother, Pete, and they discussed the situation. And my brother, being an experienced consultant at that point, looked at the map, looked at the calendar and said, good, let's send Dick. And I got to spend my winter in Rochester working on noisy blower motors. Shortly after the turn of the calendar year, I was introduced to Craig Hysong, who at that point was a manufacturing engineering manager and had been reassigned to sort of be the go-to person for Red X. So Craig and I have been colleagues and friends for a very long time. I guess this makes 30 years. And Craig has grown both in his leadership and in his skills as a problem solver and an innovator. And as Mike mentioned, we are very blessed to have Craig as part of our team and as our leader. And so I've asked Craig to talk about the evolution of Shainin.
Dick, thank you very much. And thank you for a wonderful tribute to Harry. And I'd also like to say thank you to Mike, Stephanie, and Sujatha. Great stories, application of Shainin. And I just really appreciate your attendance at our 75th celebration. And as I reflect, you know, how do I really cover the evolution of the technology? Well, first of all, how do I advance the slide? Oh, there we go. Okay. Oops. There we go. And I reflect, you know, my first interaction with Shainin was in 1992. And I attended the statistical engineering seminar. And it was 6 days of great tools intermixed with bad jokes. And I look at those tools that I learned, multivary, isoplot, sensory scoring, concentration diagrams, paired comparison, B versus C 6-pack, full factorials with Yates algorithm, component search, variable search, tolerance parallelogram, pre-control, randomized sequencing. They were all great. And I was so excited to apply them after the class. But when I went to do it, I was just like, what do I do when? And really from that perspective, you know, Dick was my coach and he really helped me through when to use each tool and what tool was appropriate for each situation. But it wasn't clear in the class. And as I got to know Dick and Dorian and Pete, for them, the strategy side of what to use when was obvious because they had been doing it for so long. But I looked at it and said, you know, we really can improve this from a delivery standpoint by thinking more along the lines of how strategic can we be in using and applying the tools. And so from that perspective, as a company, we adopted 5 core principles. And in delivering our services, we wanted to be fast. No matter what, speed was everything. We wanted to be efficient in how we used resources, both in terms of people and parts and time. We wanted to be focused. We wanted to work on the right projects so we could impact the bottom line and make a difference with our customers. We wanted to keep everything statistically simple. And Dorian was brilliant at distilling statistical methods so they could be used by people that weren't necessarily skilled in statistics or steeped as a statistician. And then lastly, we needed standard work. And we wanted to apply standard work in everything that we did. So if I look at that in terms of Red X problem solving, as part of the trivia, Brad talked about factual. And in 2004, we introduced factual as our standard work for solving technical problems. And it was a clear-cut roadmap that people could follow, starting with, what is the problem that I'm working on and why am I working on it, to how am I going to take the lessons that I've learned, the discovery of the Red X, and read it across the entire organization to maximize benefits. And so, our core in terms of Red X problem solving is to talk to the parts, different strategies for different green whys, and apply a convergent progressive search going Y to X from the effect to the cause. And if I think about, probably in my opinion, the greatest evolution of the technology would be in line with different strategies for different types of problems, and taking the types of technical problems we work on and categorizing them. So we have problems that are features that are due to your failure to make a dimension, whether it's a length, a position, a profile, it doesn't matter. But the standard work of what tools to use when to converge on the root cause when you can't hold dimensional stability. And then properties, hardness, magnetism, viscosity, developing a standard work roadmap for those. And those are variable outputs that are static, that, as long as the environment is stable, my dimension's not going to change. My physical property is not going to change. And then to realize that we have different problems that are variable and dynamic, those being events, ones where you need an energy input and your output is constantly changing. And then realizing within events, there's two types of events. There's malfunction events where you can repeat the problem or the event over and over again, and you have a unique set of tools that you apply there. And then you have destructive events where you only have one shot at it. And we really need to look at it in terms of really characterizing the event in event to energy versus peak force, which happened to be another trivia question that Brad talked about. And then realizing that, there are some problems where you don't have a variable green Y. It's binary, pass, fail, good, bad, like it, don't like it. And that's a completely different strategy and set of tools that we call defects. And having this understanding of a higher level strategy and roadmap for tools really improve the overall learning experience for students and their ability to come out of class and start solving problems. And so that's really where I see the evolution of our technical problem solving in a small capsule. And then to move on and now talk about business process problem solving. And this was really an interesting evolution for Shainin. Back in the early 2000s, we had a number of customers that were saying, we really should take what we've done in the technical arena and apply it to business process problems. And after enough customers suggested it, we finally caught on and said, this is probably a good idea. But we were very arrogant in our initial approach. And we thought, well, if we can solve these difficult technical problems, business process problems ought to really be easy. And what we found is that technical problems are bounded by physics and geometry. You know, you can't change the laws of physics. But when it comes to a business process problem, there's an infinite number of ways that people can adapt, modify, and generally screw up a process. And so we really had to take a step back and really, we wanted to maintain our core principles, but we had to really adapt what we were doing in the technical arena to work in the business process area. And so we developed our standard work, which is detail, define the project, execute the function model, talk to the occurrences, assign priority, implement corrective actions, and leverage, which very much paralleled what we were doing with factual. But instead of talking to the parts, we're now talking to the occurrences. And we're using a function-based strategy to go Y to X versus what's traditionally done in the business process problem solving, which is a process flow that really takes you X to Y. And our big learning was foundation first. And we realized that in solving business process problems and to really be quick and efficient, we would develop a function model that started with the output and worked all the way back to the foundational inputs of that process. And we talked to the occurrences, the bob and wow occurrences in that business process. And we realized that, you know, we could have an occurrence, a wow occurrence anywhere in the function model, but we needed to address the foundation first. And if you address the foundation, then you could build a strong business process that was robust to people and modifications, changes that would eventually evolve. The third area that I'd like to talk about is now problem prevention. And this started as Green Y and really evolved into what we call resilient engineering. And we looked at this and we said, we don't want to change the way that our customers develop products and processes, but rather we want to complement what they're doing. And in talking to them, really understanding, you know, where do they see risk in new products and processes, it was always the unknown. It was, we're doing something that we haven't done before, whether we're being asked to do it faster, slower, quieter, with a different technology. But it really, the high risks were the areas that they had no prior experience. And so our big aha here, as Sujatha said, was rather than trying to focus on the infinite number of things that can go wrong, we really need to focus on the finite number of functions that must go right. And we developed a 4-step process, risk assessment to really find those really high-risk areas, functional analysis to really identify the finite number of functions that must go right, a linkage matrix so we could understand measuring the outputs and the inputs and where we think they should be. And then lastly, conceptualized testing to really validate if what we think is right really is right. You know, is what we think is happening really going to happen when this product or process really starts into action? And so what I would really say is the big breakthrough here would be a departure from the DFMEA, PFMEA world of thinking about all the things that can go wrong, because if there's something you've never done before, you have no prior experience, no prior knowledge. So how can you do that? To really migrating to a function model where we start with what we want to do and we work our way to what are those critical inputs that must go right to ensure the product or process works correctly. And then the last thing I'd like to highlight is rolling top 5. Rolling top 5 is really the glue in terms of applying the Shainin methodology. whether it's technical problem solving, it's business process problem solving, or it's problem prevention. And Rolling Top 5 works with leaders in an organization to identify the right people, the right projects, and then to sponsor those projects and close them quickly and efficiently. And it's my sincere hope that we can further evolve our technologies and our application of Rolling Top 5 for the next 75 years to really add value to our customers and enhance all of their activities, whether they be technical, business process, new product, new process development, anywhere that we can add value and really follow what we really have as our mission to transform how companies approach problem solving so they can eliminate any problem faster and more efficiently. And I could really add to that, that we want to prevent problems faster and more efficiently as well. So Dick, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Give me a moment to put my camera on. While I'm doing that, and I apologize, I was supposed to make this announcement earlier, but we have a few minutes and we'd like to encourage you to submit questions. You can do that through the Zoom chat. You'll see a link that says questions. And I'll give them a moment to see if anybody has questions for any of our panelists, and we'll try to get you some answers. Well, not seeing any questions. I love it when we have complete understanding. Here we go. So great. We have a question. What about software? And Craig, why don't I let you address that?
Oh, really appreciate that, Dick. Thank you. So I'm assuming the question in terms of what about software would be, have we applied the tools and methodologies to solve software problems? And the answer is absolutely yes. It falls under the Red X technical problem solving. And when you think about software, a software problem typically reveals itself as an event. Sometimes as a malfunction event, sometimes as a destructive event. But again, no different than any other technical problem. We start with the Y output. We work our way back to the X that matters the most. We play the dictionary game inside the millions and millions of code of software to really understand where the Red X lives within that software world. So we really don't look at software as being different than the hardware side. Progressive search, converging on the Red X, starting with the well-defined green Y.
Yeah, if I can build on that, I would also say that during software development, we can apply function models and the tools of resilient engineering. And I would also point out that we often work with companies that have information technology issues that may or may not be software related. And we have developed a new training course based upon our experience of solving some of those problems. And so that's a quick thing. Craig, I got another one here for you, which is, could you share an example of a transactional problem solving engagement?
Sure, absolutely. Really, there's a large number that I can talk about. One that really kind of comes to mind, inventory control. We were working with a customer, very large automotive tier one, and they were having issues with, their system said they had 10,000 widgets in inventory, and when they went to pull them out to use them, sometimes they might have 15,000, which, from a production standpoint is not a problem, but from a just-in-time or waste standpoint certainly is. Or other times where, the system said that there was 10,000 and there were really only 2,000, which drove manufacturing nuts in terms of their ability to run efficiently and supply the customer. And we went into that, and we were warned that, they've looked at this issue over and over again, and were really stumped, and that this was going to be a very, very challenging project. But we started with it in terms of, developing a function model. What are the key functions associated with inventory control? How does it work? And built that function model with all of the different areas that were responsible for inventory control, starting with receiving all the way through manufacturing using. And then once the function model was built, we talked to the occurrences, and we looked at the Bob occurrences where the system said what you have is really what was there. And then we looked at the wow occurrences where the system said, you had a certain amount and you either had too much or too little. And as we walked through all of those, we looked at the foundational functions and realized that the problem was happening right as the material was being received. And what was going on is the tier one had a very clear barcoding system for scanning and receiving product. And the majority of their suppliers were adhering to that perfectly. Some suppliers were not adhering quite right. It was enough that they could scan and accept the product, but when they scanned, there were errors associated with sometimes where the product would go, sometimes where the amount that it would be. And that turned out to be the root cause, the main issue with inventory miscounts, inventory adjustments.
Great, thank you, Craig. Got a couple of other questions here that are quick and easy. One is this, will this session be recorded and accessible? And yes, it is being recorded, and we will make it accessible. I know we had people who registered who were not able to attend, and we'd like them to be able to view it after the event. Another question, this is a question that says, I work in Europe, and my impression is that European culture is not so fascinated with problem solving the Shainin way as in America or Asia. Have you at Shainin had the same impression, or is that just my personal opinion? I think the way I would address this is to simply point out, I commented about our global presence. And I think, to me, what matters much more than being physically in locations around the globe is having a global team that understands local culture and how things get done. And our European team, I think, has done a great job in expanding our business in Europe and working with customers. And yes, I think all around the world, we run into people who think, well, I already know how to do problem solving. And they've had some success with some X to Y approaches, and it's hard to get them to see the value of going Y to X. So I recognize that there are challenges in Europe, but I don't think they're any tougher than there are in other parts of the world. Another question that's caught my eye here is, let me get to the question so I get it right. What is the legacy transition from the Shainin family to future people? Somebody wrote a question thinking that I was looking like I needed to retire. We, as I just mentioned, we have built a dynamic global team. As members of our team make key contributions to the technology and to the business, we have offered them the opportunity to become business partners. Some examples of people you all know well are Craig and John Abrahamian and Constantine and Berg. And so I feel like the business and more importantly, the technology is in very good hands. And I'll just share a little anecdote. Shortly after he retired, Dad was sitting with Pete and I, and he commented, he said, I'm not going to be around forever. He says, I don't know whether I'll be looking up or looking down, but I'm going to keep an eye on you two to make sure you don't screw this up. And so I think we've done okay. And I think that the business will be fine at whatever point we retire. Let me just see what else we have here. These are some great questions.
And Dick, if I could interject there as well,
Sure.
In terms of, continuing the business, obviously John, Constantine, and myself are key partners in the business, but in 2023, we'll be also adding as partners to the business, Sergio Lizarga and Esther Fonderman.
Absolutely, thank you. This is open to any of the speakers. From your perspective, what are the top things for a Red X Master to focus on to make the biggest impact to an organization and the company at large? Do any of our speakers want to?
Yeah, well, maybe I'll start, Dick.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
When we look at our Red X Masters, and I'm sorry we quite didn't meet the 75 for your 75th anniversary. I'm sure we got 3 in the pipeline that we can get.
We got a few more weeks.
But when we look at our masters, I mean, in addition to being the disciple of Shainin, spreading the good word, so to speak, we also they're obviously mentoring and coaching and actively helping our journeymen and apprentices, as well as helping the organization really understand the importance of Shainin and the success that we have had, and getting everybody, let's say, speaking the language of Shainin, talking to the parts, looking for the Red X, splitting the dictionary, these types of things. So it's become also much more of kind of a cultural thing in the organization as well. So in order for it to work well and work effectively, we have to have everybody engaged and everyone involved. And I look at our Shainin Masters as leaders in the organization, as not only our technical problem-solving leaders, but also leaders in that ongoing problem-solving culture that we want to foster. They also help bringing problems to the tables, prioritizing the resources, making sure that they're a good sparring partner for the leaders in the organization, helping them to understand where the issues are and how we can, as Craig said, find the problems and fix the problems faster, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. And it's great to hear the new direction also where we're going, as not only the technical problem solvings, but the organizational issues that we can solve with the tools and the methodologies, as well as some of this thinking, from a functional model. So actually, we're really appreciative of all of our Red X Masters. We want to keep, keep grooming them, and they're an important part of the leadership in our organization.
Great, thank you. Stephanie, you wanted to add some observations?
Yeah, I totally support exactly what Mike said, but with our WCM methodology, it's really important that a Red X Master has a compass to guide the organization on where to work. And I think that's one of the main responsibilities that a Red X Master has. The compass is pretty well defined in WCM with our QA matrix. But whenever you're focusing on the business at large, it's basically looking for any of those opportunities for loss, whether it's a quality issue, it might even be an impact, in our case with Whirlpool, to brand reputation. So just the advice would definitely be, as a Red X Master, make certain that that you've identified a compass that everybody can work toward, in terms of project identification and prioritization.
Great. I'm going to offer one last, excuse me, Sujatha, did you want to add anything? I didn't want to skip past you there.
Oh, no, that's okay. I had nothing new to add. I think they covered it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we've got time for one more question. And Sujatha, you might be a good person to answer this. Do you have any experience of best practices implementing resilient engineering in environments where divergent tools such as FMEA are mandated by industry standards, such as aerospace and automotive?
Actually, I don't, because we're just in the cusp of beginning the journey of resilient engineering, and we also are not mandated by the industry standards. So I'm probably not the right person to be answering this.
Okay, sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh, that's okay.
Greg, do you want to address that?
Sure. And the area that I can talk about in generalities with resilient engineering that we've done quite a bit of work recently with is batteries and electric vehicles. I mean, obviously, that's a huge change that's going on in the automotive industry and that conversion. And of course, if you think about AIAG standards for North America, you have to do a DFMEA and PFMEA. But organizations are struggling with, we're going into the great unknown. The PFMEA, DFMEA is really not working for us in a lot of areas. And that's where we're applying the resilient engineering. And I've really seen the OEMs be willing to adapt and modify and accept resilient engineering in those areas, and they've been very open and actually partnering. In many cases, we've had resilient engineering projects that have been partnerships between automotive OEMs, tier 1s and tier 2s, in applying the resilient engineering in lieu of the DFMEA, PFMEA for those specific areas that are new and unknown.
Great. Thank you, Craig. I think we're coming to the end of our allotted time, so I'd like to offer just a few closing comments. First of all, our thanks to our guest speakers, Mike, Stephanie, and Sujatha. Our thanks to all of you who have participated. And I also need to thank and commend our team at Shainin for pulling all this together. But most especially, I want to recognize Jennifer DeJamus, who's only been with us a few weeks, but has taken the lead on getting this organized and promoting it and getting all the speakers lined up, which is like herding cats. And so, Jen, thank you so much. And we're delighted to have you as part of our team. I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Take care and congratulations.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Congratulations.
Thank you.